What is up, jabronis? JJ back here from Run Pure Bets, Run Pure Sports, talking little MLB today. Believe it or not, this might be my last solo MLB show. So yeah, I know. Cue the tiny violins. Yeah, obviously, I'll try to make this quick, under 30 minutes. So I'll just run through the games briefly. I'll give some best bets, some perspective on each game. But yeah, needless to say, been a fun season overall in baseball. I usually wind down betting the sport around this time, and then I'll typically pick back up in the playoffs. Honestly, because like you end up this time of year in baseball, you end up eliminating half the board every day with all these minus 300 lines, and it's normal, right? Like I mean, it's not like it's abnormal. Normally you have a lot of disparity between teams this time of year, and it only gets worse as you get into September. And then the playoffs is fun, right? Playoff baseball is a lot of fun. I'd argue that time of year is the best time of year in all of sports, right? Between that middle October, end of October area, I guess. I guess baseball spans into middle October, right? Yeah, it has to. So, in that area, right, you got NFL, you got college football, you got the action during the week, you got NBA starting up. UFC still on par every Saturday. NASCAR season is still in flight if you're into that. It's just a great time to be a sports fan. To me, the only better time throughout the entire season is March Madness. But yeah, there's like a 2-week span in October where you kind of get it all, right? Hockey's somewhere in there too, right? I'm not a big hockey guy, but I know people are. What's up, SP Gills, Ryan? Yeah, glad you enjoyed some of the videos from my pops. He's in Atlantic City this weekend. But needless to say, yeah, expect a few videos a week from him. Expect some college football takes, good, bad, and different. You'll see we're very different. He was a different handicapper when he was younger. He's a little different handicapper now. But, you'll kind of see he's more of an eye feel test handicapper. He's always been that way. I'm a little more different. I do like certain numbers, and I do like, certain spots based on numbers. So, call me a little more analytical, call him a little more intuitive. But either way, expect, a good season overall from the two of us. No competition or anything like that. I'm sure he'll troll me any chance he gets, but not really my speed. Needless to say, look over here rocking, Joey Works, high stake break stuff. Shout out to him and obviously that card company. Tremendous stuff on his end all around. So love to see it. But yeah, I guess without further ado, let's talk some bases here. So it was nice to get the win from the Tuesday video. And I was going to do a free play, but I was like, you know what? Let me go out the right way with a live show, or hope to go out the right way with a live show, because ultimately we have the Sunday live show with me and Holden and Joey, which will be a co-opt one, of course, but that'll be the last Sunday show we do for baseball this season. But either way, college football is going to ramp up starting tomorrow, and then NFL is the Sunday after. I mean, we're right here, folks, right here. So yeah, likely the last MLB live show from me, at least solo anyway. And expect from Saturdays moving onward, you're going to get college football. During the week, you're likely going to get college football videos now. I know. So painful. LOL. But no, you're going to get more college football, especially as the action starts up during the regular season as well. You're going to get those college football videos for me. And then you're going to get a Thursday Night Football pick. I have to confirm my dad because I know he's doing videos on Wednesday. Maybe he'll just do a Thursday Night Football pick. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But I used to do Thursday Night Football picks. So if he's going to do them, I won't. So we'll figure that out so we're on par. We're not, doubling up on similar takes in the same games for videos. But just give you a quick little rundown. That's how it's going to look. Call it a few solo CFB NFL videos a week. I'm going to have the Prim Factory show at the DFS end. We're going to have a college DFS show, college pick show. And then, of course, NFL Sunday mornings, right? No better time to be alive. All right, without further ado, let's dive in. So an interesting slate, right? Again, another day with a lot of fat lines. Also, if you guys chime in anything on the open, I'm happy to address or answer anything for tennis. Well, I say answer, I use that loosely. At least tell you where I have some numbers. But needless to say, let's just move on, right? So 6:35 is the first MLB game, Pirates, Jays, Oviedo, and Alex Manoah. Yeah, I mean, another one of these fat inflated lines. Look, we know what Manoah is, right? He's lethal to right-handed bats. He can get beat by lefties. But, do the Pirates have the lefties to hurt him? I mean, probably not. I think who's left in the team? Brian Reynolds, I think, because he's a switch hitter. I don't even know who else is lefty on that team. Because Frazier's not there. I don't even know. I think one of the kids they brought up this year that hits in the top 5 of their lineup is lefty. But, Toronto as a whole, I would say it's a decent spot for their bats. I don't love the spot. The only thing I do really like is the fact that they are are on the road, so they will be getting the full 9 at bats. But, from a top to bottom perspective, it's tough to love anything about this game. The line's a little inflated to me, but I mean, we're really looking to back the Pirates here. Not me personally. But with that said, we can just move on to the next game. Now, I'll say this: Reds Rockies is a game I did bet. Looks like this line got steamed a bit too. So let me see in which direction. I think we'll be okay. So yeah, the line's fine. So I bet the Rockies first 5 here. Hold on. Rockies first 5 money line plus 106. For me, this is a Kyle Freeland take. I'm a Kyle Freeland guy. I know he hasn't pitched good at Coors this year. He's not at Coors today. Obviously, the Great American Small Park is not very friendly to pitchers either, but it is not Coors Field. So, needless to say, I think Freeland does a decent here. And if you look at the bats, I mean, both teams don't exactly have a lot of big bats. And that might be why the under's getting steam. Because normally in a spot like this with 2 mid pitchers at best, I mean, these are, I'd argue, below mid pitchers. Total like this in this park would be an auto over in this warm weather. But the bats from both teams are a little shaky, aren't they? Now I look at the Rockies lineup and I can't complain. I mean, actually Rogers back. I didn't think he would be in the lineup. So I mean, this is probably as good as we're going to get from the Rockies end. And then you look at the Reds end. It's not bad. The Reds have guys that can hit lefties, that's for sure. But I do like Freeland. Freeland's been good away from Coors where he doesn't have that thin air. And I know the Rockies aren't hitting, and I know they looked really woeful yesterday against Strider, but that kid's a goat. But yeah, so I like the dog money here. To me, this game's a complete coin flip with a little edge in favor of the Rockies first 5 because I like the better pitching matchup. And I don't think there's much worse bats, to be honest. I'd argue the bats are better for the Rockies. So for me, getting a better starting arm, in my opinion, and the lineup, I'd argue is in favor of the Rockies as well. So I do like the spot for behind Freeland at dog money. And that was where I fired FanDuel. By the way, it's a better price. I think DK, you got to lay 105, whereas FanDuel, you're getting that plus 106. So, use that to your advantage. Okay. Next game up. Orioles Athletics. So Dean Kramer, and it was JT Sears. Sears again, like the numbers are good, like at a surface level, but man, this dude's like a few starts away from probably collecting a few different rocky starts, if you will. Will come here, maybe not. Obviously, this Orioles field has played big this season. We know that with the extension in left center. But look, it's an interesting line, right? I think that, a lot of people might be like, wow, I mean, the Athletics in this spot aren't really that big a dog, all things considered. And maybe that's a lot of respect to Sears, maybe. I know that he was with the Yankees a bit. He was okay there. But he's been even better in Oakland, maybe because he gets to pitch in a bigger park now. I'm not a Sears guy, so I would lean the O's. But, he's been one of those guys that finds ways to get himself out of jams, which is not lovely. I would lean the under here. I don't love the spot by any means. And I did not bet the under. So just to be clear, if this floated to 8.5, I probably would bet the under though, because to me it would slide into favorable range. And again, that has more to do with how this park has played all season long. But again, you look at the lineups. I mean, the Oakland A's lineup is Jesus. I mean, it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all, actually. At least the O's, while it's not as pretty either, at least the O's, you get, a decent amount of sticks in here, at least at the top of the order. This lineup is really rough. I mean, I don't even know where they're finding power. I mean, once you get behind Seth Brown, I just don't know where you're finding any flavor of consistent power with Oakland. So we'll move on. If that goes 8.5, to me, I would fire under if I were you guys. Okay, or especially first 5, because you do worry a bit about the Pens. But the O's Pens been okay. Oakland hasn't, so take that for what it's worth. Tigers Royals. So I looked at this game from a few different angles. I wanted to bet it. To me, it was very fair. It was fair enough, if you will. Drew Hutchinson, Daniel Lynch, 2 average at best arms. Again, I'd argue below average arms, much like the game I bet before. look, the Tigers really can't hit lefties or righties, but at least they have some capable righty sticks when they go ahead and face a lefty. So Daniel Lynch is definitely a vulnerable lefty, but Drew Hutchinson's a vulnerable righty. It looks like the Royals put in a few different lefty bats here. And the Royals, let's be honest, let's look at this lineup. Like, it's not crazy bad. I don't love the fact that Hunter Dozier's been in a huge slump and he's hitting, seventh? I mean, this was a guy that was supposed to be in the top 4, top 5 of this lineup daily. Michael Taylor's hitting 5th, which is interesting, right? But I'll be honest, there's not much to love about this game, right? It's two tomato cans going head to head, kind of like the Rockies Reds. But the difference is, like, at least I feel like I'm getting a pitcher with upside with Freeland. I mean, here you're not getting any pitcher with upside. You could play the over, but again, you're looking at two real crap lineups, and what do you make of that in regards to a total? And I think I've said this to you guys before. Like, it's where I've been so wrong this year. Like, I've underestimated teams just not having bats. And it's hurt me quite a bit. Like, I've always been a guy that if you have 2 average arms in a warm ballpark, I don't really care what your lineups are. That ball is going to carry, especially if the 2 pitchers coming in are coming off really good starts and you have, that regression angle potentially in your favor. But, with that said, it does still make things difficult for me because I've been betting these spots for the past few years and they've been doing well for me. However, this year, the degraded lineups in some instances has really been a tough one especially when you add in the fact of how many double plays there's been, how many strikeouts, how the lack of ability for teams to move runners over, and bad bats hasn't helped, but I digress. We'll move on. I'm with you, full game Rockies we're playing the Braves pretty tough throughout the series. There's no reason they can't handle the Reds. Yeah, Jordan, I'll be honest. You definitely could be right. I'm not talking the whole series. I don't like the Rockies starting arms at all. So I can't speak to it as a whole, but I do agree with you. They got roughed up by, an elite Braves team. And, obviously with all those good arms, and the Rockies don't hit well on the road as it is, but this should be a softer matchup for their sticks. And again, you get Rogers back in the lineup as well, so it helps. Okay, Yankees Rays, interesting game, right? Jeffrey Springs, Domingo Germán. Springs has been really good. Like, I remember I did a game on him about 2 months ago, maybe. The dude had ridiculous reverse splits. Somehow a left-hander was getting mauled by lefties and just been brutal to righties. His ERA has come down significantly since. The dude strikes out a ton of bats. It keeps people off the base paths. I'm just trying to see. So he is still fucking lethal against right-handed bats. It's crazy. And here's the concern, right? The Yankees team filled with a bunch of right-handed sticks. Now, Springs certainly could pitch well here, and he's a deserved favorite. I will say this. I do cap this a few points under in favor of the Yankees, but not enough where I want to fire. Domingo Germán's been good. This Rays team, though, don't sleep on them because looky here. What are they, 2.5 games back of the Yankees? 3.5 games back? Something like that. It's crazy. His team was a lot of games back a very short while ago. So, I think it's an interesting spot. I think this will be one of the more fun games of the slate to watch, not like even from a DFS or betting perspective, but I think it's going to be a fun game. With that said, I don't like anything in it. The total at 7 makes sense. I think it's always, you always got to be worried or worrisome when you bet an under at 7.5 in a Yankees game, obviously because of all their sticks and all their pop. This Rays park has played really big this year, as it often does. And we know it'll be closed, so you don't got to worry about that in terms of weather. But tough spot overall. The Yankees have been skidding, but they did kind of show some life recently. They brought up the young kid as well, which might help them. But all things considered, I don't love anything in this game. I do think this one will be one of the better games to watch of the day, though, or night. But nothing from here bet-wise. Next game up, Guardians, Mariners, Luis Castillo. And it looks like a pitching change here. I don't know if this guy just recently got slotted in. I did not have him going in my notes before. Maybe I was wrong. Cody Morris. I don't think I had him going in my notes. Anyway, making his debut this season. And it looks like making his debut in the MLB, which is always fun. I think you guys know by now, like, I don't bet on or against really kids making their starting debut unless they show some egregious numbers in AAA, good or bad. If they do, I am willing to take a stand. I just think there's too much variance with new pitchers in their first start. I don't have numbers to backlog me here. I just know that if I'm starting at my first game in the majors, I'm going to have nerves. I'm going to have jitters that could relate to more adrenaline, that could relate to more panic pending the individual, and I don't like to handicap that angle. Again, obviously you take the numbers into account, but at the end of the day, you're still dealing with humans, and I don't often like to back first game starters. With that said, Luis Castillo has been amazing in a lot of ways. Obviously, I loved the pickup. I thought they gave up a lot to get him, but I've always been a Castillo guy, especially when he threw at home for Cincy. I think he's been great for Seattle. And look at Seattle. I mean, they sit here 15 games over 500, just kind of keeping up their track from last year. From right before the All-Star break. So it'd be interesting to see if they get in. I don't think they have the pitching to compete. Castillo helps, but look at the pitching they're going to have to go up against in the AL, right? They can likely beat a team from the AL Central, but they won't get matched up with a team from the AL Central. They'll likely get matched up with a team like the Yankees or a team like the Astros in the first round. And that won't be fun. Actually, they shouldn't get the Astros, but they'll more than likely get stuck with a team like the Yankees, depending how the wild cards play out, I guess. But either way, I'm kind of just ranting or rambling. But nothing I love here. I think you could argue for some value in favor of Seattle. I don't love the spot, though. I do like Castillo when he's home. He has the crowd behind him. He's not going to have that today. And again, just more credit to Terry Francona with what he's done with his Guardians team. His team is as talentless as any team above 500. And obviously just continue to find ways to make it work. Great manager. Red Sox, Rangers, Nick Pivetta, Dallas Keuchel. So Dallas Keuchel has become the Patrick Corbin of the betting market, and deservedly so, right? He's been bad. He's been, I'd argue, more than bad. He's been really bad. Dallas Keuchel is giving up a tremendous amount of hard contact. Now, granted, his ERA at 8+. Let me just pull him up real quick because I don't have the advanced numbers in front of me. It is hard to have advanced numbers back in the ERA of 8. So I will tell you he's likely due for progression. And he is. Not a lot, but he is. So the advanced numbers have him at about 5.5, right? His xERA, his xFIP. His xFIP's actually under 5. So where's the problem, right? Like why is his ERA what it is? So he doesn't strike anybody out, but he hasn't struck anybody out his entire career, right? So that's not a problem. The walks are as high as they've been his entire career. And when you add in the fact that he's not striking anybody out, along with the fact that he's not striking anybody out, the walks are as high as they've been in his career. The home runs aren't as big a deal either. Like if you look at his career, even when he was pitching really well with Houston, his home runs was always an issue with him. He was a ground ball pitcher. And the problem is that in his prime, he was getting like 65% ground balls. He's not getting that now, right? In like a 50% ground ball clip, which is why he can't sustain any flavor of success. Now, the 376 batted average on balls in play is a huge concern. Now, is that something that's likely going to regress? Possibly, but that is a very high batting average. I don't know how big the sample has to be when you compare it to other people in the majors, but that has to be one of the worst in the league, which would argue for some luck probably coming his way. I mean, even if you barrel up, like you look at his numbers here, his line drive rate's 21%, his hard hit rate's 28%. These numbers don't equate to a batting average of 386 on contact, of 376, on contact. He's only leaving 53% of base runners on, so that's a separate concern. But all in all, progression is coming, dare I say, for Mr. Keuchel. I don't love the idea of backing him in any way. Nick Pivetta has been to say the least. But does Boston warrant a -200 line here? No. I will certainly not be betting Boston today. I would argue for some value on Texas, but again, it is tough to root for progression to start with a pitcher who's really struggling. Keuchel's a smart pitcher, so take that for what it's worth. But I don't want any piece of this. And again, remember, pitchers like Keuchel that are going through these types of spurts, they will bounce back in one way or another. I just think it is tough. It's such a tough spot to want to back him. But with that said, there's value there. So depending how you want to go, completely up to you. All right. So let's see. Moving on. Let's check the comments. What's up, Rance? Greg Russo. Yeah, it's like, now you mentioned I thought it was somebody different. Plesac makes sense because that doesn't make sense. Over 9 looks good. So if you're talking, what's up, Richie Rance? Yeah, like I said, I don't mind it, but again, in the sense of progression, Keuchel does not warrant the ERA he currently has. So, take that for what it's worth. All right. Moving on, Mets-Nats. I want to do this under 30 minutes. I mean, shit, we're already at 20. You know what? We're moving. We're not bad. We can do this under. We'll have to rush, but we can get this under 30. David Peterson. Jesus. What the fuck was that? Something fucking got lodged in my throat. I'm like tearing. Excuse me. Take some water. All right, Josiah Gray, Dave Peterson. Now, these are two pitchers that I consider have upside, but also have a lot of downside. Now, Peterson's pitched really well this year, but man, I am not a Peterson guy. Does Peterson warrant a minus 300, a practical minus 300 line? Absolutely not. Super, super weird. What was I going to say? Hold on. So I lean the over in this game. I don't love it. The reason I do lean the over, though, just to be clear, is I think you have two pitchers that have been throwing at least relatively decent over the last month or so. I think it's a decent spot to fade the bats. You put a total of 8 in a game where the home team is this big of a favorite, and the Nationals are going to put out, their double-A lineup like they do every day. It's just tough to love. Obviously, I like the Mets lineup today. At least you're getting a full roster from them. Josiah Gray, though, does have upside, and that's what scares me a bit with a total at this number in this park, which is more of a pitcher's park. If this was 7.5, I would like it a lot more, especially if I can get it at a dog money price. But I don't love the spot, and for that reason, I stayed away. And I'm not laying 300. I'm not backing the Nats in this spot. So again, this is what makes this sport hard this time of year, right? Because you have all these inflated lines, and you're either going to lay a run and a half to get yourself even on the price, or even more than that, I guess, with these lines, or you're going to take a flyer on dogs, and you're just hoping that when you do, it makes sense for you. But either way, we'll move on. Braves Marlins, Charlie Morton, Sandy Alcantara. Yeah, what is there to say, right? Spencer Strider, what a start from him yesterday. I love the kid. He's got a lot of fire to him. And I'll be honest, if he stays healthy and at least motivated enough, and he definitely comes off as motivated, it'd be tough to imagine he's not a top 5, top 10 pitcher in the next year. I mean, you could make the argument he's a top 10 pitcher now. The kid's good. The kid's really good. And I don't even know where they got him from. Like, I think he was like a first round pick, I think, a few years ago. Man, the kid throws smoke. He's got a slider that looks like DeGrom's. He's just good. There's no better way to explain it. And I love the fact that like he'll happily call, anything that happens negatively against him as bad luck. Anyway, kid's got moxie, so I like that about him. But either way, this start, Charlie Morton, I'll be honest, like this might be a hot take. I think the Braves' path to a World Series is behind a guy like Charlie Morton. You know what they're going to get from Fried, right? You know what they're going to get from a guy like Strider, assuming they don't get too nervous in big spots. Morton is kind of like that middle ground guy for the Braves, right? The guy that they're hoping can either win a road start for them or can eat 6-7 innings and go 1-2 earned for them in the playoffs. Because the Braves, arguably have, this might sound like a hot take, they arguably have the best lineup in the NL. Even better than the Dodgers. Dodgers have a great lineup right up and down, but look at this Braves lineup every day. It's definitely peak. It's definitely top 2 in the National League, and I'd argue definitely top 3 or 4 in the whole league. But if you're talking like this team to move on and make a playoff run, which they certainly can, I think it's really going to have to come. I think Morton's going to be a huge contributor there. Kyle Wright is not a guy I personally trust. I know that they're going to have to run 4 arms. They're going to probably move Odorizzi to the pen. I think the big one's Morton, especially if you're going to throw Morton. If you want to protect Strider and you want to throw him at home because he's a young kid. But either way, I think Morton's super important. In relation to this game, Alcantara, man, this dude should win the Cy Young, right? I mean, there's almost, to me, who's even competing against him at this point? I know that this team doesn't have wins, but they gave this award to Felix Hernandez years ago when the Mariners didn't make the playoffs, and his ERA was like 2. Alcantara's been unbelievable. He eats a ton of innings. His whip is crazy low for as long as he's out there. Goes up, throws as many pitches as anybody in the league. He's 12-6 for a team that's 20 games under 500. So without him, where would they be? I just think overall it's a no-brainer. And Corbin Burns has regressed a bit. I'm a Burns guy, but he doesn't deserve it. And in relation to this start, so this might be a hot take. I do lean the over in this game, primarily because you get a decently warm game. It's not super warm in Atlanta, but it's warm enough. Morton's better at home, but this is such a low number. And I know that the game went under yesterday, and the Braves pitched really well against the Rockies, and the Marlins sticks don't exactly show up on a daily basis. I'm trying to see if we have a lineup. So, like, I look at the lineup here. It's not terrible for them. It's not great by any means, but it's not terrible. And obviously the Braves throw out another good lineup. Like I said, like the Braves can like sit 2 or 3 guys a night, and you wouldn't even know the difference. That's how good and how much depth they have, especially with their young talent. But anyway, so moving on, you have, a spot here where between warm weather, obviously 2 really good arms, but this total is super low. So like for me, this total is like a little too low. And I think you can even find 6.5 at some spots. Look, this game could be a complete barn burner where you're not getting anything more. And who throws better at home is going against the depleted Marlins lineup and could shut him out. Alcantara has been great. Alcantara looked really good against the Dodgers last week or last time out. And I'm not saying regression's coming, but he now has to face another really strong lineup in back-to-back starts on the road. It is just a lot to ask of him to throw well. And while he might, again, it's tough to tell in a few different ways. So lean over. Don't like the Atlanta side. Don't like the Marlins side. I think the line's actually right. I think you could, look, if you've been betting Alcantara every start this year, you've been absolutely banking. I just feel like right now, if you haven't been and you're going to start jumping on this Alcantara train now, I don't think now's the right time. This line's probably about right. And this line includes what it's likely to be a tremendous, it could be a good performance from Alcantara, but I do like the over. Did not bet it though, just a slight lean. If I got 6.5 minus 110, I would have. I just don't think we're ever going to get there. White Sox Twins. So Sonny Gray is going to draw a very depleted White Sox lineup here, and Davis Martin. Sample size isn't that big, but it's big enough. And my big issue with this game is I wanted to bet the Sox. I wanted to bet the over, but this White Sox lineup is dealing with a lot of injuries right now. And then you look at the Twins lineup today, and it's kind of woof levels. So, call it a lean towards the under. But for me, like, how could I take a game where I wanted to bet the over and then turn around and all of a sudden magically like the under? I do think the lineups are going to be very head scratching for both sides. Obviously, the lineup for the Twins isn't great. The lineup for the White Sox is not going to be great. I mean, they might wait it out because maybe they'll get 1 or 2 of these 4 guys. They have 4 starters out, so they might get 1 or 2 of these guys out or back, and that'll help. But either way, because of that, I couldn't bet the Sox in this spot. Sonny Gray's been bad against right-handed bats, and the White Sox have been hitting despite this depleted lineup. But overall, just too many arrows going different directions for me, and I'll stay away. All right, Cardinals, Cubs. Jordan Montgomery and Adrian Sampson for the Cubs. Now, Sampson's been really good, right? I mean, like I said, I think I said this last time. I'm surprised he wasn't dealt at the deadline. Montgomery, correct me if I'm wrong, hasn't he thrown like really well for this Cardinals team? I could be wrong. I feel like he's thrown like really well, but his ERA doesn't show it because his ERA was about this when he was with New York. He was throwing really well and then got rocked against Atlanta. I see. Okay. So, maybe we'll call that the regression police for Montgomery. But needless to say, I do not like St. Louis here at 250. Probably get a better start from Montgomery here, bounce back start, if you will, at home against a fairly average lineup at best with the Cubs. Sampson's been good, but it's tough to ask him to throw well in this spot. I think the line's about right. Probably a little favored and a little bit of favorableness in front of the Cubs, but I'm not stepping in front of this Cardinals train. Let me just peek the comments real quick. Please check Miami first 5 good Cubs over Cubs Braves see Montgomery multiple times over. Yeah, I agree, Rance. I mean, they may be able to hit him pretty well. All right. So Angels, Astros, well, pretty well. I mean, pretty well. Hitting Alcantara pretty well would be like 6 innings, 3 earned. That would be hitting him pretty well. Reed Detmers, Lance McCullers. This is an interesting game. So I will say this: I do lean the over. I lean the over because maybe start with why I'm not betting the over. I'm not betting the over because the Astros have a lot of injuries. They're much like the White Sox right now, where their lineup is very, very depleted. Reed Detmers is a lefty, and you throw a lefty at the Astros, it's never fun. Detmers has been great, though. McCullers is not good on the road. Now, I know that he's only had 1 road start this year, and of course, that was when I bet him. but he has not been good at all on the road. So over his career, he is like a much different pitcher at home. And he's going to face an Angels lineup that is going to be healthy or healthier. I mean, you look at who they're playing and who they're starting and whatnot. This team is fully back, or as back as they can be anyway, without Rendon. So their sticks are live, and I'm sure they're trying to end the season on somewhat of a high note. I think sticks are live here. My concern is the Astros. I would have actually, thinking about it, I probably could have bet the Angels team total over. But I stayed away from there. Ultimately, I do lean the over, though. The Astros lineup is going to be critical because they are just missing a lot of bats. And I don't know who's going to start, who's not going to start. But needless to say, we'll just move on. I like Manoah over 6.5K pitch. Don't mind that, Gills. I'd have to check, though. I don't know Pittsburgh's K rates. I don't think they're that high. So I would look into that, especially K rates against right-handed pitching. I would just confirm that before you fire if you haven't. Okay. So 3 games left. Diamondbacks, Brewers, Zach Davies, Eric Lauer. So interestingly enough, I did want to bet the D-backs in this spot. However, I see a name called Zach Davies there, and it makes it really difficult. Davies has gotten his ERA back low again. I just give this dude a tremendous amount of credit. I mean, I know I trolled him the last few years in terms of how the regression police are going to be after him. And sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But this dude throws like 92 miles an hour. He has pitches with not a whole lot of bite. He's just a really smart pitcher, and you give him credit. To me, there should be a lot of kids watching Zach Davies pitch because he doesn't exactly have genetic gifts, that's for sure. But he goes out there and grinds innings. And again, it's not pretty. It's not stylish, but he gets himself out of jams. And he's quietly gotten his ERA. He dipped his ERA down here now. I don't believe – has he even been with the Diamondbacks all season, or was he traded? Maybe these numbers are just Diamondbacks numbers. I don't think so, actually. No, they're full season numbers. Yeah, I mean, he's been like I said, what is there to say? It's been good. Kid from Washington, right? Against Eric Lauer, who is another pitcher who rejuvenated his career out of nowhere. And kudos to – actually, I'll be honest, kudos to both these guys. Like Lauer at least is a lefty, which gives him some advantages in some ways. But, it's just it's tough for me to want to – I know the Brewers lost 5-0 yesterday, I think. That doesn't matter to me. Part of me wants to go on the D-backs, though, because they've been hitting. If you look at their last games, like they've been really scoring runs at a consistent clip. I think they've scored like 5 runs or 4 or 5 runs in 3 of their last 4 or 4 of the last 5, something like that. Lauer's good, but again, it's tough to love anything in this spot. I think the spot makes sense for the D-backs, but man, good luck betting the D-backs in a coin flip with Zach Davies on the hill against a playoff-bound team like the Brewers. So yeah, I'll stay away. Dodgers Padres, this will be my last best bet of the video. I bet this game over 8. Now, this is all about home road splits. Darvish is miserable. Absolutely miserable on the road. And granted, he's been good at home. To me, the Dodgers have his number. Now, he can pitch well at home against the Dodgers. I think I even bet him one time this year against the Dodgers in the first 5. He didn't win, but it was good enough to cash with the half run. Here, though, I'd argue for some value on the Dodgers. However, Dustin May, obviously he comes back and he's been pitching really well. This Padres team, though, is really starting to find some success with the sticks. I know they went through a little lull as soon as they got Soto, but they seemingly have found themselves or found their bats a bit, if you will, because they've now scored, 4 runs in 6 straight games, 5 runs in 4 of those 6. They're averaging like 8 runs a game over their last 6. This team is hitting. So it's not exactly – and they were doing it in not exactly hitters' parks. So now they get a little more hitter-friendly in L.A. Now, Dustin May is good, but, let's be honest, he was not this good. He's not 1.64 ERA, .82 whip good. He got to face Miami twice. So he's going to face a real lineup now, San Diego. San Diego lineup that's hitting. The Dodgers lineup, we know, is always live. And Darvish, for whatever reason, has issues throwing on the road, which I guess you can make that argument with a lot of pitchers, but you see that more often with younger pitchers. Darvish is an experienced guy. You wouldn't expect this to be this level of a concern. With that said, the dude's still having a great year, right? His whip's under 1. But I'm just trying to pull it up because I'm pretty sure his home run splits are pretty pretty distant from each other. Breakdown. Yeah, I mean, his ERA is almost double away from home. So and he's going to face obviously a tough Dodgers lineup, which at times has his number. So yeah, I bet that over 8 minus 105. I think. Let me just make sure it's still available. It's minus 110 at DraftKings now. Let me just check in. Every penny matters, folks. Hold, please. Imagine having fast internet. I mean, you guys might be able to get to FanDuel Sportsbook before I can. I typically like to give you guys DK and FanDuel numbers, at least because those are the two most popular ones. At least for my area. Barstool might be in New Jersey now. I don't know if it is, though. BetMGM is popular, too. Imagine this still loading. All right. Well, anyway, I'll start typing it. So it's over. Padres, Dodgers. Over 8. If we could save the 5 cents. Bro, this thing is still loading. I don't even know how people did this shit in like the 70s and 80s where it was like super slow. And now it's transferring me to the casino. Imagine. I might have clicked the casino on accident. You hate to see it. MLB. Suspense is killing me. All right. So it is. Look at that. Oh, wait. No. Oh, shit. No, never mind. It's 8.5 at FanDuel now. Yikes. All right. We're not doing that. So I bet at FanDuel 8 minus 105. It's interesting. I mean, not that it's interesting that move, but it did move a bit over the last hour or two because I did bet this bet 2 hours ago. So this is minus 110 DK. Okay. Last but not least, Giants, Phils, Alex Cobb, Kyle Gibson. I did want to bet the Giants here. I really did. Kyle Gibson on the road is a bit of a mutt. Alex Cobb is a pitcher I trust more than Gibson, especially at home. However, Giants have lost, 6 or 7 straight. Not exactly fun betting a team. It's going through that type of lull. And don't look now, the Phillies have the same record as the Seattle Mariners. I mean, this team is winning games. Maybe it was a Girardi problem. Maybe it wasn't. Regardless, this team is looking decent. I don't think they have the starting pitching or the bullpen to do anything in the playoffs. But, I've seen crazier things surprise us, right? Or we've seen crazier things surprise us. So that's basically the long short of it. I would have bet the Giants here. I just can't bet on a team going on a negative losing streak like they've been. So I will stay away. So that's it. That's the whole slate. Guys, just to wrap up, I bet Padres Dodgers over 8, and I bet Rockies money line first 5 plus 106. The Rockies was at FanDuel, and the total was at DraftKings. Overall, so that wraps it up. Tomorrow we'll talk a little college football. So DFS show at 10. I'm going to try to have a bet show at 11 right after it. But we'll see. Maybe I can merge the shows together. But again, we'll see how that goes. Regardless, expect some juicy college football content, and then look, NFL content starts up right after the week after. So anyway, folks, I wish you the best of luck with all your plays, all your picks, anything gambling related this weekend. Obviously, I'll be back tomorrow talking college football, and I'll be back on Sunday with the baseball show, Holding Joey, the last one. And then I think another NASCAR show. We're probably going to be our last NASCAR show of the season. So keep all this stuff in mind. But regardless, gamble responsibly, stay safe. And as always, folks, run pure. See you guys.